It is my privilege and honor to introduce our first distinguished speaker. On January 5th, 2013, Governor Pat McCrory became the 74th governor of North Carolina. In his first State of the State address, the governor laid out his vision for returning North Carolina to prosperity with a commitment to focus on three key areas: the economy, efficiency, and education. To that end, the governor quickly launched economic development reforms, concentrating on private sector job creation and retention. He tasked educators with instilling knowledge and teaching skills to ensure students are college and career ready. He began a long overdue and sweeping upgrade of information technology systems to make state operations more efficient and customer friendly. Governor McCrory's vision and approach reflect a lifelong dedication to improving the lives of North Carolinians, and we look forward to hearing more about his vision and direction for North Carolina. And he has championed his way through a rough cold, so please join me today giving a warm welcome to Governor Pat McCrory.
Thank you all very much. To welcome the new year, I'm going to speak with a cough drop in my mouth. Before we go any further, I do want to, first of all, give a hearty welcome to Peter Gwatney. Comes from both New Orleans and Tennessee, two great competitors of ours, and you also have two great governors who are also very good friends of myself. And we just want to welcome you to the state of North Carolina. You're going to do a great job. Let's give Peter a warm welcome, and we want to thank you. And although he isn't here today, I do want to thank and pay tribute to Thad Woodward. I've worked with him during my first 2 years as governor, and he served the banking sector for over 36 years, and he led this banking association since 1997. Let's give him a round of applause also and thank him for his service. Happy New Year. You know, when I became governor of the 74th governor of the 9th largest, most populous state in the United States of America. Did you know that? As of about 3 weeks ago, North Carolina became the 9th most populous state in the United States of America. And it has been an incredible honor for me. And when we came into office, we knew that we had to work with you to take some very strong action very quickly to help turn around this economy. And together, we've done just that. And one of my primary goals was to unleash the potential of the people of North Carolina and the resources of North Carolina, because this is the greatest state in the United States of America. There's not even a close second. We have the resources, we have the people, we have the education, we have the businesses that when working together, we are second to nobody. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. And I'm pleased to report today that North Carolina's economy is much stronger than it was 2 years ago. Much, much stronger. In fact, North Carolina's economy is now beginning to separate itself in a very positive manner from the competition, including Louisiana and even South Carolina next door. Not only because we're willing to make the tough decisions in government, but also because of the entrepreneurial spirit of the private sector. And I want to thank you for investing in the state of North Carolina. As governor, I do not take you for granted. I will never take you for granted, and we've got to keep working together to continue this Carolina comeback. Let's take a few moments to review what we've done together in the past 2 years. First of all, when I came to office, on January of 2013, North Carolina's income tax and corporate tax was the highest in the Southeast. And we were not competitive even with our neighboring states of Virginia, South Carolina, and Tennessee. Now, working with the legislature, we passed historical tax reform that not only put more money in everyone's paycheck this year, more net money in everyone's paycheck this year, but has drastically improved North Carolina's business climate. It has sent a strong signal that we are open for business. And we will be competitive, not only for new businesses to come into North Carolina, but more than anything else, to get existing businesses to grow. Another area of great interest to this entire state was teacher pay. Back in January 2013, teacher pay had been stagnant for years. So last year, working with our General Assembly, we delivered strategic pay raises designed to keep more teachers in the profession and make North Carolina a teaching destination, not simply a layover for a temporary career. Medicaid, health care is one of our greatest challenges, one of the major parts of our budget. When I came into office, I did not know this, but the Medicaid forecast was a $550 million misforecast. That's adult money, $550 million misforecast from the previous years. Today, thanks to restructuring and better forecasting under the leadership and determination of Secretary Aldona Voss, who is right there at the front lines, who has the most difficult job in North Carolina government, the Medicaid forecast for this year was under budget. Let me say that again. The Medicaid forecast for this year is under budget. In transportation, under the incredible leadership, and if you notice this, I'm bragging about my team because this is a team effort. I put together, and I made this commitment to you 2 years ago, that I'd put people around me that are a heck of a lot smarter than me and a lot of people in this room. It's a team approach if we're going to have success. Dr. Aldona Voss was a part of that team. Another part of that team is Secretary Tony Tata. When I recruited him to come to become Secretary of Transportation, the people of Wake County already knew him because he had been school superintendent before. He had also served as a one-star general in Afghanistan and Iraq. And he has been an incredible leader of the DOT department. 2 years ago, we inherited a transportation system in which we built roads based upon politics as opposed to need. And working with a bipartisan vote in our legislature, a very, very strong bipartisan vote of Republican Democrats, we reformed transportation funding. We reformed transportation funding so when we build roads in North Carolina now and in the future, it's going to be based upon 3 criteria: where the cars are, where the congestion is, where the safety issues are, and where the economic development needs are, not based upon where the most powerful politician happens to live in North Carolina. And as a result of this new data-driven approach, we are now going to fund 303 more projects and create about 126,000 more jobs than the old formula during the next 10 years. You know, remember when I was a mayor of Charlotte, I'd go down the roads in North Carolina and they go from 2 lanes to 8 lanes back to 2 lanes. And where it was 8 lanes, it was always named after a former governor, DOT member, or state senator. That usually meant we weren't building the roads based upon data, but based upon politics. We can't afford to do that anymore. So this is a total change in culture, which will not only help our transportation system, but it's going to help our economy and getting a better bang for our limited dollars and get better results and create more jobs. Another important issue to the chamber people in this room and to the Banking Association, and that was unemployment insurance debt. When we came into office, the state owed the federal government $2.5 billion. Let me repeat that. You owed the federal government $2.5 billion for borrowed unemployment insurance that we borrowed from the federal government. And guess what? There was absolutely no plan on how to pay that insurance back. That was debt. That was off the books. Well, I believe in cutting up the credit card and paying off the debt as quickly as possible. And what we did, working with the legislature, and I want to compliment our legislature on doing this, we made some very, very difficult decisions which did not survey well. We decided not to extend unemployment. We were the only state in the United States that decided not to extend unemployment. In addition, we lowered our unemployment compensation to what South Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia were paying. We were paying the 9th highest unemployment compensation in the country. And if we would have continued to extend unemployment, and have the 9th highest compensation in the country, this state would now owe well over $3 billion to the federal government. We drew the line and made the tough decision. As a result of that decision, you now only owe the federal government less than $400 million, and we're going to pay off that debt in the next 6 months, 3 years ahead of schedule. That means you're going to have more money in your pocket in the coming years, which hopefully with that money, you'll invest that in more people and more capital. And that's our goal. And I might add, all the other states now have followed our lead and also have decided not to continue to extend unemployment compensation. See, our goal is to get people back to work. And working with you, we're doing just that. Today, I'm also pleased to report that in January 2013, North Carolina's unemployment rate was 8.8%. It was originally 9.4%, adjusted to 8.8%, and we had the 5th highest unemployment rate in the country just a short 2 years ago. In fact, a year and a half ago, we had the 3rd highest unemployment rate in the nation. This is our North Carolina, the 3rd highest unemployment rate. We are beating Nevada, and we're behind only Nevada and California. That was not anything to brag about. In fact, 77 of our 100 counties had unemployment rates that exceeded 10%. Now, partly because of the reforms we put in place and the private sector's incredible entrepreneurial spirit right here in North Carolina, our unemployment rate has dropped 3 full points during the past 2 years. Today, only 3 counties have double-digit unemployment, and the drop to 5.8% just this past November is one of the largest drops in the nation and the lowest it's been in North Carolina for more than a half a decade. That's good news for North Carolina. Since January 2013, North Carolina has gained 176,000 new jobs, and we have now recovered all of the jobs lost during the recession. Best of all, job growth has occurred in every major economic sector except for one: government. The state payroll is down approximately 6,000 out of the workforce of approximately 200,000 employees compared to January 2013. The decline is not the result of just layoffs or across-the-board cuts. Much of it is, I believe, due to a new culture of efficiency and new customer service and the use of technology. I have asked state employees at every level to reassess what and how they do their work. I've asked them to reprioritize their duties and incorporate technology in their daily tasks so that using state government can become so easy and productive as using a smartphone. I encourage you to go to the new DMV. Right now, Tony Tata, when you go to a new MDV, the lines used to be an hour and a half. We've cut that down. In fact, no one had done a study how long the lines had been. And we're continuing to improve upon that and doing customer satisfaction studies and implementing technology just like you would see in an Apple store or a Verizon store or any type of store where customer service and speed and quality of service is demanded. We demand the same thing of our DMV. Now, I do need to let you know we have some incredible challenges still with our economy. And I've got the person to help lead the way. We hated to lose Sharon Decker as my Commerce Secretary. She's returning back to Rutherford, returning back to the private sector, and I'm going to miss her. But I want to introduce our new Commerce Secretary because I'm lucky to have him. He's been a great Diener Secretary for the past 2 years. You and the business community have given me incredible feedback on the new customer service-oriented approach that we now have in Diener. We don't always give you the answer you want, but we give you an answer. And we do it in a period of time which allows you to predict what business needs you have in the future in North Carolina. And he's going to continue to do the exact same thing with our Commerce Department. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause for our new Commerce Secretary, John Scavarla. John, if you could please stand. He and I are going to be on the road this week and next week. We're meeting with customers every single day. North Carolina is in play in some exciting potential new projects, and I'm going to talk about some of our challenges with regard to that. And some of our challenges include this. Right now, our revenues coming in are a bit under budget, $190 million through November. And we hope to have some better numbers in the very near future. It's too early to tell where we will end up, but recent budget data has revenue trending in the right direction, particularly as income taxes become rolling in during February, March, and April, and also as sales taxes, which we're now more dependent upon than income taxes, become coming in after the Christmas holidays. We are very confident things will be well. Healthcare is another major driver of the economy and also a significant cost for each one of you in business. I am working closely with the new congressional leadership on healthcare laws. I am encouraging our congressional leadership and the president, who I'll be meeting with tomorrow, to be allowed to devise a North Carolina solution to healthcare for our families and employers instead of a regulated Washington program that increases cost without improving care. And we're going to be working. I've met with our two new senators, both Senator Burr and Senator Tillis, just the past week. And again, I'm going to Washington tomorrow to welcome them and watch their swearing-in ceremonies. And I will also be meeting with the president to talk about some of the issues that are important to North Carolina. Another thing that we have to address, that you have to address and we have to address together, is a continued skills gap, not only in our nation, but also in North Carolina. Even when unemployment was at 8.8%, I had many of you tell me, as I visited your companies, that you cannot find qualified workers for jobs that you have openings for, especially in agriculture, IT, healthcare, and manufacturing. Almost anything that had to do with technical matters. We have a jobs skills gap in North Carolina. So what we've done is working with you is we have revamped the state's workforce training efforts. We have transformed our unemployment centers to North Carolina career centers. So now when someone's unemployed, and we want to help those who are unemployed, we want to do everything we can to help them because there's still too many unemployed people in North Carolina. But when they come to what used to be referred to as unemployment center, we want to make it a career stop. We want to help them connect to a job that you have open right now. And if they don't have a job open right now, we're going to connect them to an education that can help them get the skills necessary. And that's why we've got a great relationship with our community college. Scott, I don't know if you're in the room, but you've been a joy to work with. And we're going to connect them with our universities. And one group of people that we see tremendous potential in, and I'm working with military commanders throughout our state at each of our military bases. As our veterans return home from Afghanistan and Iraq, we think there's a potential to fill the skills gap needs with the returning veterans coming home. And that's why we're going to be offering those returning veterans in-state tuition for our community college and something equivalent for our universities. So we can keep the veterans right here in North Carolina and get them working for you. I want to encourage you to please hire the veterans. We're also working with our universities and our community colleges to skip over training certifications in skills in which they already have. We don't want our veterans to come home, say they have driven major trucks under fire in Afghanistan. There's no reason for them to sit through a truck training course when they could test out of it immediately. The same thing with medical personnel. We're not going to have our veterans come home and jump through the usual bureaucratic hoops to get the necessary certification. We want them to get that certification if they already have the skills so they can begin working for you as soon as possible. So we're going to use the military as a recruitment tool for both new and existing businesses. The community colleges and the universities are a key part of this transformation, and I just want to say we're meeting monthly to have this coordination with our community colleges and university leaders. Now, what lies ahead in 2015? Well, to continue this Carolina comeback, first, we must get into the energy business. North Carolina sat on the sidelines for the past 25 years when it comes to energy exploration. During those 25 years, we have not even bothered to see if we have the potential for gas exploration, both inland and offshores. While West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and other states, economies have begun to boom because they got into the gas exploration business. So what I did last year was sign the Energy Modernization Act, and this law will protect the state's environment while clearing the way for exploration and new investments in our state's energy sector. To attract new investment in 2015, we need to perform scientific measures to quantify North Carolina's inland energy potential. We don't even know what it is at this point in time. But working with my former Secretary of Diener, we believe there is state property that we will work with the private sector to see exactly what resources do we have. And this is just a first step in trying to unleash the resources that we have here in North Carolina. Last year, along with Duke Energy, Piedmont Natural Gas, and Dominion, we announced the construction of Atlantic Coast Pipeline. This $5 billion pipeline will bring 1.5 billion cubic feet of natural gas per day to North Carolina and Virginia. This is coming from West Virginia, and create thousands of jobs in the process, and especially help those in eastern North Carolina that are paying higher utility bills for energy. And we've got to lower those utility bills in eastern North Carolina, and this is one way we'll do it, and then we'll have more success in recruiting manufacturing and other industry that is dependent upon low electric rates. Survey work and federal permitting for the 550-mile pipeline will continue in 2015 in preparation for the construction start in 2016. Also, as chairman of the Governor's Outer Continental Shelf Coalition, I will continue to work with our fellow governors, including Terry McAuliffe in Virginia and Nikki Haley in South Carolina, and the federal government to allow energy exploration off the coast. But we must first find out what is there. And I'd like to compliment President Obama and his administration and Secretary Jewell, who I've met with many times during the past year, where in the past 4 months we just got permission to begin seismic testing off the coast of North Carolina to again see what natural gas potential that we have off the coast. And then if we have some, we are going to immediately begin working with our senators and with the president to have a matching federal fund very similar to what they have in Louisiana, in which we can use some of the revenues derived from any offshore. This is a long-term plan to help reinvest that into education, into our environment, into infrastructure, into beach renourishment, revenue that we desperately need at this point in time. We can sit on the sidelines and get our gas from West Virginia and Ohio and Pennsylvania, or we can engage in this country's energy independence. I refuse to sit on the sideline any longer. We are going to participate in energy independence, but let's first find out what we have. Now, another major challenge is connecting our rural regions. The one area of our economy that is not rebounding as fast, especially the Triangle and the Triad and the Charlotte region and Wilmington and Asheville, is many of our rural towns. And we think there's two potential opportunities for connectivity. The first one is digital connectivity, and we're working on a plan to connect our entire state. I've been going up to Washington on several occasions, meeting with the FCC, to see how North Carolina can be the role model to connect rural areas to digital capacity, both for our education and for our industries. Now, there is one area that we need some immediate action, and I need your help. And that's to have a strategic incentive program when recruiting new businesses to North Carolina. Now, North Carolina can compete with any state in the nation for new jobs, and we're doing just that. But the fact of the matter is, the challenge is to at least get a seat at the table so we can make our message strong and sell our message. And to get that seat, North Carolina must have a strategic incentive program in place. Today, as your governor, even as John and I right now are planning visits literally within this week and next week to visit some major employers for potential expansion in North Carolina, I do not have the tools that I need. I need you to help me work with the General Assembly to get a new strategic program in place, and this has to be done literally in a matter of weeks if we're going to continue to have success that we've had during the past 2 years. This has to be the #1 priority in the first 2 weeks of this legislative session. I need your help in conveying to the legislature the urgency of this need. I cannot be at the negotiating table without knowing what we have in North Carolina to negotiate with. And right now, there is not a firm strategy in place. I'm talking to major job creators right now. I need these tools. I need our plan. I need your help to make that happen. Lastly, I'm so excited about innovation in North Carolina. Our universities and research organizations are one of North Carolina's biggest competitive advantages, with more than $3 billion in research annually. We must maximize the advantage of our research institutions, both public and private. And let me mention this, both public and private. At the Executive Mansion during the past years, I have not just invited representatives of NC State, UNC Chapel Hill, and UNC Charlotte, and East Carolina to the Executive Mansion and their chancellors. I've also invited Duke and Wake Forest and other schools that are well known in other areas of the nation for their research and who also get federal grants. We are now working together between the private and public schools and joining a coalition in seeking this federal money for grants. We're working as a team because we all benefit if we work as a team. One of our major objectives of our job plans is the Innovate to Jobs initiative, which is designed to convert fundamental research. We have got to convert more of the federal dollars of research to actual products and services that are patented and commercialized that will go out into the marketplace. That's where the entrepreneurial spirit will come from and continue to grow in North Carolina. We cannot keep accepting federal grants, do studies, and just put it on the shelves and forget about it. We've got to convert that to commercialization, and that's why we're working together among our universities. The Innovations to Jobs Task Force, which has been meeting throughout the year, just recently gave me their recommendations and very blunt assessment of our strengths and weaknesses in North Carolina. And let me briefly mention the 3 challenges that they gave me. First is translation. There's an insufficient development or dissemination of university-based structures and practices for technology commercialization. The second is capitalization. There's insufficient funding for technology, proof of concept, validation, IP protection, commercialization, early and mid-stage product development, production, and business expansion. This is in comparison to our competition. And third, operations. I see this in government. My greatest challenge is finding good, strong operations people. And right now, there's an insufficient number and utilization of seasoned, mature business professionals to run startups and guide companies through growth and expansion right here in North Carolina. That's a very blunt assessment that we must listen to. It's very pragmatic, and we must address it. To address these challenges, here are a few of the recommendations the task force made. Enhance university collaboration with the private sector, increase the commercial application of research, develop innovative research funding sources, establish a venture multiplier fund, and harness and attract innovative leadership for new startups. I believe if we do these things, and believe me, we have very specific strategies to do each one of these things. I believe if we implement these things, that North Carolina can be the third vortex of what I refer to as the National Innovation Triangle. We have the Silicon Valley out in California, which just centers around Stanford University. Then we have the Boston area, in which there's a tremendous amount of capital. And then what I want to do is have the Carolinas be the third part of that innovation triangle. Do you see it in your mind? I want this to be the natural destination because of our price structure, because of the universities, because of the quality of living, because of our research institutions. We can be the third part of that triangle. And with that, continue to grow from Charlotte to Raleigh to Greensboro to Greenville to Wilmington to Asheville. because we have the research and innovations and skills needed to do just that. That's our goal, but we're going to have to make some strategic moves to make that happen. In conclusion, providing jobs for the people of North Carolina has to be our continued goal working together. It will be my top priority in 2015. We must continue to unleash the creativity and economic potential of North Carolina's people. Not just so we have a comeback, but we have a Carolina miracle. And believe me, if we could have said this, if I would have known I'd be saying this 2 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it. But again, it hasn't happened by accident. It's happened through hard work. But let's don't take this 2 years of success for granted, because I'm working with governors across the nation. I went out to California not too long ago, and I was looking for potential investors who were interested in bringing their investments to North Carolina. As I'm leaving this major investment office, who's invested capital into Facebook and Google and many other companies successfully, and I'm going, bring your money to North Carolina. On the way out, Governor John Kasich walks in from Ohio. The competition's tough. We welcome competition. We plan to beat the competition because we have the resources and the people and the talent to do just that. Thank you, and may God continue to bless you and your companies, and may God continue to bless the 9th largest state in the United States of America and the best state in the United States of America. Thank you for this great honor. Thank you very much.